I think that this whole movement of AI and vibe coding, you don't need to follow the rules because you have all of the knowledge from human history in an AI model. You can ask it any question and you can just apply it. I would consider myself one of the best experts. I don't follow a playbook ever. And I've noticed the most successful people out there, one of them being this guy named Levels.io, who's making around 300K a month. He has no structure.
How do you actually scale this to the point that where he's making like $300,000 a month? Like, how do you get to that point where it's generating that sort of revenue?
Honestly, I think I should show the response to this instead of answering it. Can I just pull up my computer real quick?
Okay, so today's guest is Riley Brown, and before we get into the episode, I have to share the inspiration behind this conversation. Riley is the definition of a vibe coder. He has no deep background or experience in coding. He's not a software engineer. However, he is an expert in using AI to build products and businesses super fast. He just raised $9 million for his AI app, Vibe Code. And so our mission, our intention with this episode was to show you the fastest way to build an AI business that you can launch and start getting feedback on in just a few hours. And so let me say this. In this conversation, Riley shows everything. And he's so passionate about this stuff that it really made for a great conversation. Nothing was held back. And one thing we actually did right at the end is that we set a challenge for you. And if you can do this challenge, there's going to be a number of you that have successful AI companies in the next 6 to 12 months. And so you're going to see that at the end. Let's just get into the conversation. You are listening to The Callum Johnson Show.
I just wanted to read to you what Callaway said about you. He said, Riley's so deep in AI right now. He lives inside of ChatGPT. And what I love about Riley is that he's always experimenting. He'll spin up these business prototypes super fast. He'll have an idea and build the version 1 using AI in just a few hours. And it's not even about the tool. It's about how fast he gets to something that's real. That's what makes him dangerous. It's about how fast he gets to something that's real. That's what makes him dangerous. And so here's where I wanted to begin. Because even as I was just reading it out, I start to think about that person at home that just has like a ton of business ideas. It's like saved in the notes app on their phone, or, you know, when they go on YouTube, they just see like entrepreneurship videos. But at this moment in 2025 and us sitting here, they haven't yet launched something. What do you think is going to be the value to that human being of listening to the conversation that you and I are about to have?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, love Callaway, and he experiments in his own way. He's a lot more meticulous than I am. I am much more of an explorer, I would say, in terms of I find cool technologies and I obsess about them because I genuinely don't understand if you're not obsessed with AI right now. And not from like a guru sense. You know, like a lot of people are selling snake oil in the AI space. And I think a lot of people get worried about it in that way. But like if you actually just look at what AI can do, you'll realize that anything that you do on the computer or could do on the computer is possible with just like a month of learning. And so hopefully by the end of this episode, you'll realize some good frameworks around finding problems to solve in your own life and then being able to take that problem and turn it into a solution through AI coding tools, which has become known as vibe coding, which is a movement that I started a company with the name. Like we're literally building the Vibe Code app, and that's kind of what I'm going to dedicate my next decade to. But I wouldn't be in this position if I wasn't just like hyper obsessed over this technology. And so hopefully I can make some of this obsession rub off on the viewers.
Yeah, you know, we're going to get into the fastest way that someone can build an AI business. But before we do that, you mentioned vibe coding, and I want to make sure that we give people the context, because typically when people get really excited about technology, they're like software engineers or they spent like years coding. Vibe coding is something different. So to people that might not know, can you just explain, like when you say vibe coding, what do you mean?
Traditionally, if you wanted to create an app, you would need to write all of the code by hand. And this involves writing a bunch of code files and then debugging all of those code files and then running it so that you have some sort of app working and running so that people could, sign into your app and use it. And then maybe they could pay you for that. With AI, the same way that ChatGPT generates essays for college students or generates emails for people who work at Microsoft, AI now generates code. And in my opinion, it is the best skill that AI has because it's relatively deterministic and these models have been trained on so much code, they can literally create full programs in a matter of minutes. And it allows people who are insanely creative and are really fast to act on their ideas to iterate a bunch of times. Um, and so you brought up that Kane said that I can create a solution or a prototype of an app really quickly. Most of them didn't amount to anything. But the fact that I do it over and over and over again has led me to a place where I created a successful app 4 or 5 months ago, and then I ended up putting it on hold a little bit to start a company. And now I've just moved to San Francisco, um, and we're actually building a company around vibe coding. And I would not be in this situation if I wasn't just like constantly iterating and getting better at this skill. So it's still at the stage where it is a skill. And the leverage, if you have a good, if you're a good critical thinker, which I think is the most important thing in the age of AI, like how good are you at recognizing problems and then solving those problems with prompting? Those are going to be the most dangerous people over the next few decades because it is still a skill and you still have to have the desire and the taste to actually create the thing. Um,
Mm.
and so that's kind of the philosophy and a little background on vibe coding.
Yeah. You know what's interesting? And I even think about this in my story with like the first businesses that I tried to start. The thing that killed them is that it just took me too long to launch.
Yes.
Like I wanted everything to be so perfect before I let the world see it. And it's like when I was speaking with you, and even when we spoke before this, your superpower is your speed. Like you're the first one there. Can you talk about like, and just I just want to make it so real for people.
Can I
Why
say something? Can I say something on this? I have
go
this
for it?
is actually something I'm insanely passionate about. I've had some friends in my life who were constantly deciding which path to take in life. And the way that I see it now, especially with the fact that even with just the internet, never mind AI, you can figure things out quickly if you want to, but you have to want to. And then I've had friends who are, deciding like, I don't know if I want to be this, or if I don't know if I want to be this, or basically they don't know what like life to launch. And what people fail to realize is that just flip a coin. Because especially if you're early off in life, I think you're more likely to do both if you just pick one, right? You're not picking between the two. You're picking between whether or not you want to be someone who makes things or someone who doesn't make things. And so just pick one and then fail fast so you realize it's a stupid idea. Because if it's a stupid idea, you should want to know as quickly as possible. And so just do a bunch of stupid things over and over again. And I think that has really defined my um, this decade for me since 2020 is I've just been doing and failing and then I created a reselling business in like right after I graduated, and then like that was pretty successful, and then I realized I could make way more money as a content creator, and then I started making content, and then and then now I'm going to make content for the rest of my life, but I also want to start companies, and so now I'm just trying to take as many shots on goal until I find one that fits with my content, and so I've just if there's one thing I'm proud of myself for is it's just like my willingness to just fail really quickly. And I
Mm.
wish more people tried this because I think they're too attached to the identity. Like I can only be one thing when really you can just take as many shots on goal as you possibly can.
Yeah. You know, I think you're so right. I think it's the identity. I also think that and I just think about myself, like back then, I think there's also like an embarrassment in failing.
Mhm.
And so, you know what, I just want to debunk this because even though like right now building a startup and raising money for a startup, like millions of dollars for a startup, uh, based on the fact that you just experiment really fast and like test things. Like you didn't have this super technical coding background. Can you
Yeah,
talk about
I
the
mean, to be fair, I am assembling the team of the smartest engineers in the world, and we're going to, and they all know consciously, like we're trying to build the app that replaces them, right? Their path to we're trying to get rich. Like, and I'm not afraid to say that. Like, we are taking the big shot, right? I can create a content business in my 30s and 40s and 50s and build wealth slowly. Like, this is my one true shot. And I've always wanted to do this. And it's going to require the smartest engineers in the world. Like, we are trying to build the tool that allows anyone to code. And to do that, it will require a ton of engineers. Some people have this idea that I vibe coded the Vibe Code tool. That's not what happened. But it was the fact that I made so much content on vibe coding that led me to the ability to network with the best talent engineers in the world. By the way, the engineers on the team, which are like world class, don't like coding. They like building and they're really good at coding, but they would much rather have AI code and just like bring their ideas to life. And so that's like what we're hiring for at this company is like people have a bias towards action and just like making things real. And we're going to, that philosophy that I have in life, like that's going to be the center of the company. Sorry if that's like a ramble on the side, but I
no, no,
wanted to
no.
just throw that
It,
out there.
it's perfect. And I want to stay there just for a second before we get into the practical stuff. Can you do two things? One is tell us a little bit more about what it is that you're building, because it's fascinating. I think it's going to be valuable to the people that are listening. But before that, tell us also about like your first experiment with like building an app or a business with AI, because I'm sure it wasn't as successful as what you're doing now. But give us those two point of views. The first time that you built something experimenting with AI and building products, and then what you're building now.
Okay, so we're going to get back to vibe coding with Riley in 60 seconds. But before we do, today's sponsor is going to make sure that your finances stay on track. Introducing our friends at Rocket Money. And here's what I want to know. Let me know if you can relate to this. One of the most annoying things is paying for a subscription you didn't even realize is still active. It's happened to me numerous times. And so heading into 2025, I made an adjustment. And I started using Rocket Money to clean house. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that lets you manage subscriptions, lower your bills, and build a custom budget and grow your savings all in one place. And so here's what happened when I started using Rocket Money. They surfaced every subscription that I'm paying for. I was shocked to learn that I'm paying for some things twice. And with just a few taps, I was able to cancel all of the dead weight. And it's not just that, it also scans your bills for savings, it pings you before charges even hit your account, and its goals feature automates deposits towards wherever you're funding. And all of the members who use their premium features have saved up to $740 a year and collectively over $500 million in cancelled subscriptions. And so if you want to get your spending on track and join the 5 million other members using Rocket Money today, go to the link in the description. And when you use that link, you can get started with Rocket Money for free. So thanks again to Rocket Money for sponsoring today's episode. And let's get back into it.
Give us those two point of views. The first time that you built something experimenting with AI and building products, and then what you're building now.
Yes. Okay, so I'm going to answer the second part first. So first thing that I ever built was in something called Claude Artifacts. Honestly, I think I should show the response to this instead of answering it. Can I just pull up my computer real quick? I could
Do it.
explain this way better on screen share.
Let's roll. That's what we're doing today, man. Let's go into
Hell
it.
yeah. Great. Okay. So the first tool that I ever used, for the first tool that a lot of people used where they realized that they could actually do things with AI and code was Claude Artifacts. And so Claude is a ChatGPT competitor, and they created this Claude Artifacts feature. And so, for example, I could say a simple calculator app in Artifacts. And so Artifacts is this like side window that pops up in Claude. And by the way, I think this is a great way to just learn about front-end design. And so you can see here, the code is generating here on the side, which was different than anything that came before it. Previously on ChatGPT, you could generate code, but if you're a non-coder, you don't even know where to put the code. It just generates, and you're like, "What's the big deal of code? Like, what does it even do?" But you see here, you can see how it rendered as a calculator, right?
Yeah.
And so now we have a calculator that should, in theory, work, right? 5 times 5. And so you can create these simple applications. This is a very simple example. But like we could say, like, make it bigger and call it Riley's calculator. And this is when I realized we're entering this era of like personalized software and this is kind of the essence of vibe coding, right? You generate something and then you edit it, right? And now you have this, and you see it's just editing the code. Claude's getting a lot faster. It's getting a lot better. This is the new Claude 3.7 model, which is their state-of-the-art coding model. And you can kind of watch it generate and edit the code, and then it re-renders, and now it's making another edit, and you'll see it render again. So this was
it's pretty crazy just watching it happen in lifetime. Like it's figuring out the code in lifetime.
Yes. And they just released a new model where instead of having to regenerate the entire code files, it can directly just edit the code files. I don't even really know how it works, but like the point is you don't have to know how it works. The same way that you're using a camera right now to film the podcast. And maybe you're a camera nerd, but I have no idea how it's working. I just know cameras work and I can record a podcast and connect with people on the internet. Software is moving to the same, in the same direction, which is the reason behind our whole thesis here, behind Vibe Code. And so Vibe Code, this is Vibe Code. I have it open on my phone, but I'm streaming it to the computer. And you asked me what it is. And all it is an app that lets us build mobile apps. So what I want to do first is like we can just record our voice and please create an app that lets me record my voice and it converts it into a YouTube video outline with a hook, a introduction, and then outline the different body paragraphs, but like make it YouTube specific. So use the Whisper model to transcribe what I say and then convert it using AI and make it red and black.
You know what, just as it's doing this, I think one of the things that I think it's just difficult when you're like first building something is like identifying a pain point. And it's actually kind of step one of the process, right? Which is identify a painful workflow and find a problem worth solving. And so in this example, it's like, okay, the problem worth solving is like, how do I produce great YouTube videos faster?
Yes.
And with
Right.
what you've just spoken into this app, it's now generating an actual product, an app, an idea, like
Yes.
something real that could solve that problem.
Totally. And by the way, this will actually take a while because this has two AI features. So it's probably generating like 13 to 14 different code files, and the AI agent has to go through and generate everything. So this will take time. What I wanted to do really quickly is let's go to one of my favorite tools. And so this is one thing that I have just been doing more since ChatGPT came out is I've just become a really I just rely on visuals all the time. How do I go home here on? Oh yeah, create new. So
what is this tool you have open right now?
This is whimsical diagrams. There's other ones you could use: Excalidraw, TL Draw, Miro. It doesn't matter. But I really like to diagram everything out because if you ever diagram something out, you could just give it to AI and it will understand what you're saying. And so I think diagrams are like, that's just how I think, right? And so like, let's try and come up with an idea for an app. One thing that I think would actually be kind of fun is just like converting do you ever watch a YouTube video and it has like it's an educational YouTube video, and you wish that like you could take whatever framework they're speaking about and turn it into an app? Maybe this is just me. Maybe this is not an actual real problem, but like, you know who Patty Galloway is?
Yeah.
Patty Galloway is like a genius YouTube scripter or strategist.
Like strategist, like growth expert
Yeah,
on YouTube.
Yes, he's like a YouTube strategist, and I wanted to make an app that like, actually, you know what? That might be a good thing. Like, why don't we just take his philosophy and turn it into a mobile app? Because
Okay.
that was one thing that I wanted to do a while ago, or turn it into an app. Because the people's problem, right? When you get started on YouTube, the problem that people have, and so I always go like this, like I go problem, and then we will drag this down here, and then we have like ideal state. Right? The problem with people getting started with YouTube is they don't know, like, there's so many things you don't know. Like, you don't know how to organize all of your thoughts. And I think the central problem is like, you don't know what questions to ask yourself. And so, what if we created an app that asked you a question and then it used AI to ask you questions, and all you had to do was answer 5 questions, and then it wrote a script in the format of like Patty Galloway, you know?
So just quickly to jump in and add context.
Yes.
So Paddy Galloway, he helped like Mr. Beast grow his following. Obviously, Mr. Beast like the biggest YouTuber on the planet. And so the problem that you correctly like identified, Riley, is that people just lack experience. So you don't actually you're like creating videos and posting them because you don't have the experience because you just haven't been on YouTube that long. You don't know what the problem is. Like you don't know what you're missing. And so essentially what you're saying is, what if we actually created like an AI, like YouTube growth coach that basically took on the like experience, personality of Paddy Galloway, and now it's asking you questions and it's helping you through like your YouTube journey. Like that's a
Yeah,
product that people would pay for, which is basically what you just
absolutely.
identified in a few seconds.
100%. 100%. And this was just something I thought of last night, like when I was like trying to come up with some ideas for this episode. What I think it could be really interesting to create something like this. And I think this is an important theme for people. If you're watching this video and you work in consulting, if you work in like if you're a contractor or you help anyone achieve a specific goal, I think it's a great place to start because you can now take whatever's in your brain and you can convert it into software. And if you think of like what a ghostwriter does, or anyone, like if you were to hire Patty Galloway or hire a someone who writes content, what they're going to do is they're going to ask you a bunch of questions, right? Because they want to know what you're an expert on or what you have, you can establish some sort of credibility on something. And they're going to ask you a bunch of questions, and then they're going to take those questions and convert them into a script that will work based on their own expertise. Well, AI is actually can first of all, it can ask you questions, and then you can respond, and it can dynamically ask you questions because it's AI generated based on what you've previously said. It's not deterministic, like it's not like a questionnaire that you would fill out, right? It can ask you questions dynamically, and AI will actually know what information it needs to gather from you, and then it can generate a script in that format. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And is the when you say dynamically, what you're saying, Riley, right, is that it's like it's personalized to you. So it's not
Right.
just a generic questionnaire that anyone, it's like made for you.
Right. And in here, we can do it through just prompting on ChatGPT. Look at this. So this is actually the best place to start. By the way, prompting is programming. There's this connotation around prompting in AI that it's like, oh, you're a prompt engineer. You're this like, it's pompous. It's like prompting is so easy. That is a psyop. That's fake. Prompting is so important. And not there are a lot of people on the internet who sell prompts or like you use these prompts, but like the and that might be a scam. But the underlying ability and skill of prompting is probably the number one thing because it is the fundamental it's just being able to communicate your ideas effectively and then get an answer from a PhD level system, right? If you can formulate questions and formulate workflows through prompting, you are going to be a great vibe coder or engineer because you can take any prompting workflow and turn it into software for your company. Let me show you an example.
All right, quick break. I want to put you guys onto something brand new that's completely changed how I handle email. And it's called Notion Mail. They're the sponsor of this episode, and it's just launched. And so I've been using them for a few weeks now, and it's seriously helped me up level how I use email. Less chaos, more clarity, and I'm just not wasting as much time in my email inbox. And so how it works is that Notion Mail connects directly to your Gmail, and then it just goes to work. And it uses AI. And so it sorts and organizes your inbox based on actually what matters to you. No more digging through clutter, trying to find emails over here. It puts the emails you care about front and center. Honestly, to me, it's been like having a powerful AI engine directly in my inbox. It's made me way more efficient. It's helped me draft better replies, adjust tone. It even suggests responses. And so if you're tired of typing the same email over and over, or you just feel like you're wasting too much time in your inbox, and Notion Mail is for you. And so here's how you get started. You can connect your Gmail to Notion Mail for free using the link in my description. So go to the description, use that link, and not only are you helping yourself when you use that link, you're also directly supporting the show. So thank you, and let's get back to the episode.
Let me show you an example. So we can actually just turn on search the web here. And we could say, I want you to research. I don't know why we're using.
This is in ChatGPT.
This is in ChatGPT. Sorry, I moved kind of fast. I switched from ChatGPT to Claude because I know that more people watching this, I would say way more people have ChatGPT than Claude. So this is, and I'm not even going to use the O3 model. So even if you're on the plus tier, which is $20 a month, you will have access to this. And I don't know why we're choosing Patty Galloway as our guinea pig today, but that's fine. So I want you to research Patty Galloway, and since we're searching the internet, we can just do that. And I want you to come up with questions to ask a user, right? To ask a user that would be useful for writing a script. So just list those questions here. And actually, I think it'll be cool. Let's throw in the O3 model, and we'll search. And AI is now beginning to think. And I think not enough people truly understand the fact that AI is thinking now. And you can actually see the thinking steps. And so now he's saying, like, I think the user wants me to gather information about Patty Galloway, a YouTuber known for analyzing YouTube growth strategy. So one of the tools that O3 has is the ability to go out on the internet, find information, bring it back to the chat, right? And so now it's reasoning, and then it's going to literally think. Now it's searching the web. So it reasoned. By the way, our YouTube app is done, but we can come back to that in a second. And so the point is like, you can create these workflows in ChatGPT and use them every day. And once they're super useful for you, that act of honing the craft and making it useful to you means it might be useful to someone else. At that moment, then turn it into an interface, right? And make it into an app and try and sell it. That I think is one of the most important things in the modern world, is just to use ChatGPT as a way to solve your own problems.
Just quickly before we move on, I want to double click on something for people, which is actually the way that you constructed that prompt. Because one of the things that I've learned with AI, and I remember I had a friend and he told me this a year ago when I didn't really know anything about ChatGPT. He said the biggest mistake that people do, especially beginners, is they treat ChatGPT like Google. So they ask it like a very direct, short question, and like Google gives a transactional response. ChatGPT, the way that you're meant to use it is actually like a conversation. And so like even in the way that you structured the prompt, you gave so much context on what you wanted. And so I just wanted you to elaborate on that,
I think
Riley.
that's only partly true. Because first of all, I didn't give it a lot of context. Instead, what I did is I turned on search. And what it did is, since these AI agents are thinking, it went out and found relevant context for me, which, by the way, that's happening. And because I think that I think that, yes, you shouldn't treat it like search. in the sense that like it's not just going to give you a list of details that's ranked by how much money these companies are spending on Google ads, right? It's inherently more useful because it gives you like an AI generated response. Um, but but in the same way that like you said you didn't create your businesses because you like took way too long to launch, you don't want to take too long to like find the perfect prompt because you just want to iterate really quickly, right? I said, I want you to research Patty Galloway, right? And then it did all of this research. So it went out for me and found context, which by the way is going to get a lot better. And ChatGPT just added memory, meaning it can actually go through, if you give it permission, go through all of your previous chats to look for relevant context to make sure that so it'll basically start guessing why you want that information. But after it went through all of this process, it came up with all of these questions. And then now imagine we're Patty Galloway and we're trying to turn this into our own app and we're going to sell it. And so now what we could do is we could read these and we could say, okay, I like 1, 4, 7, 9, and 10. List those only.
And this is like the conversation piece of it, right? Like it's
Yeah.
collaborative.
And you're going to, because like our goal here is to come up with what questions do we want to ask each user when they use our app that we're creating. We're pretending we're Patty Galloway for a minute. And we're coming up with the questions that are most important. And again, we do not need to have the O3 model on. This is overkill. I just wanted to show the fact that it can pull in additional reasoning. It does take longer. We could easily have used the GPT-4o model. In fact, I think OpenAI should change it so it automatically selects it. And it's also searching the web, which we didn't need to have on. And those are little things that you'll learn as you use it more. Because basically all it should do is list these right here. So it's doing something, it's taking way too long of a process. But yes, it is a conversation, as you're saying, and you're just trying to reach some sort of goal, and you don't need to do it all in the first prompt. So let's imagine for a second that that we want these questions, right? Like according to Patty Galloway, rule of clear niche, what's your channel's single sentence? So if we change it to GPT-4o and turn off search, we could say, don't include the part about Patty Galloway. Like, just ask the questions concisely, the same 5. Okay, let's bring it back to the app. So earlier, just a little bit ago, we wanted to create an app. And this is the Vibe Code app, the mobile app. And this is what it created. This is on my phone, right? I can use this on my phone. No idea if it's going to work. But let's see. I want to make a video on using AI effectively to create content and help people use AI to build applications. All right, let's see if this works. It doesn't always work on the first try.
But it's also like, how long have we been at that? We've been at this for what, 15 minutes? And we already
No,
have
this is one prompt. This is one prompt and it worked, right? It's not perfect formatting, but it literally used AI. We created this app. This is a working mobile app that compiled on our phone. This isn't a web app. This is a mobile app. And what we can do here is, so notice here that the bold formatting, right? It's trying to bold this. And wait, what does this button do here? Let me press this button. Oh, I think that copied it.
Riley, maybe just explain, like, what is it that people are seeing?
Yeah, here, let's make it bigger. Make all of the text on the screen that shows the transcript when it's done significantly bigger. And make sure the bold formatting is working properly. And make the title of it bigger and all of the icons bigger. I want this to be big. So we can just ask AI to make these changes. This is vibe coding, right? We're building a mobile app. And so this is one of the things, all these different companies, Bolt, you can use Bolt, Lovable, Replit, Cursor, Windsurf. All of these tools are building tools that most people are making web apps, right? These are not apps that would go on the App Store. We're building a mobile app that builds mobile apps to start, at least. because no one else is doing it. And so this is kind of our wedge in the market. And I think this is one of the reasons why we were able to raise a pretty good amount, because no one's done this yet. And I just think so much of the next generation is just on their phones that they're going to really just want to be able to create apps from their phone, like in line for coffee. Anytime you get an idea, pull out your phone, just toss it in. That's our ultimate thesis. I'm wondering, like, do you think this is something that you would want to do, just like when you're out and about, walking, chilling, hanging out?
But I think about the person that's watching at home, and we spoke about it right in the beginning, right? Of like, you have so many ideas, but they're just that, like they're just dreams until you make it real, right? And so I love the fact that you can go from the idea to like something tangible really fast. And
Yes.
that's how you start building momentum with something, right? And I think building momentum is what makes a business work. It's what keeps you doing the thing, is actually
Right.
having something tangible.
And what I like about vibe coding, and like we could literally do the same thing in a different tool. So like we could build a web app, right? And we could go into something like V0. V0 is actually my favorite tool to build web apps. We could go to v0.dev, which is another vibe coding tool. And I really liked what you said there about the fact that you could just create it really fast. And like if you don't like it, just change it. That's where I think that's why a lot of stubborn programmers hate the idea of vibe coding, because engineering is so expensive. Like engineers cost a lot of money. Being able to coordinate between a ton of engineers is hard. It's expensive from a time perspective. They plan a lot, so most of their time is spent planning. And the essence of vibe coding, which like all of these tools Replit or Bolt is another company right now. They're in San Francisco. It's $1 million prize. Like people are coming here for a hackathon, and it's all vibe coders. Like no manual coding is allowed. And like all of these people are just going to rapidly experiment. And I guarantee you, someone's going to create a multi-million dollar company at the end of this event, because that is where we are in the cycle of software. So you can just make stuff, and then you can iterate on it, and then you can sell it if you have distribution. Which is something that you could think about, building a super valuable app for your audience.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Okay, so we're in V0 now.
Yes.
We put in the 5 questions. Just so that people can understand, what is it that V0 does? And I guess you can just show it, but
Yes. So V0, let's start off with something really simple, and then let's work our way up. So this uses Next.js, which in my opinion, all you need to know is that I think it is like the highest quality for landing pages and simple applications. Like it's very high quality design. It just looks professional. And so we could say just create a simple interface for an app called, let's call it Patty GPT, for YouTube script writing. And these web apps look really cool because it's going to open up a side panel, and it's going to show you all the coding, just like Claude Artifacts earlier. And it is going to create a web app. And it's really easy to get these on the internet. I think V0 does a really great job at allowing you to deploy landing pages and simple web apps to the internet. And their tools getting a lot more powerful. And we'll see it pop up right here. And I think it's the best at design.
yeah, correct me if I'm wrong, Riley, but I remember we did an episode a few weeks ago with Greg Eisenberg. And one of the things that he did when we were using V0 is he literally went and said, like, he got screenshots of like Apple's like landing page and like Warby Parker, like, and Nike and like these big companies. And it was basically able to create a design that actually kind of took design inspiration from just pages that I liked on the internet.
100%. Look at this. So we could let's go to one of their competitors, lovable.dev. And what we can do, I actually really do kind of dig their page. We could screenshot this right here. We can copy this to our clipboard. We'll go back to V0. And we can say, so this is what V0 created, right? Maybe it's not the best design in the world, but it has like, what's your video idea about? Script length, it gave you a little toggle that you can edit, and casual and friendly, And then you can type in your idea and press enter. Now, no AI features were added. This is dummy text. Like this is just like, it uses like dummy text to mimic what the app will look like, which is why I think it was so important for us to just add AI features natively, because in order to use AI features, you need something called an API key. And most developers don't want to do that. But I'm going to digress on that, because what we can do here is, let's say we're just focused on the appearance. We can paste that screenshot that we just took on Lovable. Let me see. We'll screenshot this. And we'll drag this in. So we just uploaded that screenshot and say, I'm going to say this. And also, one thing about vibe coding is I use my voice for almost everything. I want you to please make the app stay exactly the same in terms of functionality, but from a design perspective, make it look like the screenshot. And so now we can run this. And the tool that I just used to use my voice is, I think it is the most underrated tool on the Mac, which it's called Whisperflow. I actually do know the founders a little bit, but it is an app that just sits in the background of your computer and lets you like talk to your computer. You never have to type. And it has a it's way better than the one that's built into the Mac. And that's part of the fun with vibe coding, is you don't even need to touch your keyboard.
So you talk into your computer and then what, it transcribes it, or it just means that?
Yes.
Okay.
Immediately transcribes it.
Very cool. And what was that
And
called
then
again?
like
Whisperflow?
Whisperflow, but it's spelled weird. So it's Wisprflo.
Okay.
For those of you who want to try it out. I think it's really good. Other people use another tool called Super Whisper. I don't think it matters that much, but it makes coding a lot more fun because you don't have to like type it out every time. I can speak a lot faster than I can type. And yeah, it's generating.
So it's literally building like the front end design of how this page is going to look based on.
Yeah, I mean, it's editing
Lovable.
it. So like, remember, we just created this little Patty GPT, which we can actually go back and like, we can view this, right? We created this, and now it's taking that code and it's editing this code based on that screenshot and our prompt, and it's creating something. I think it's done. So now, and then it went from this to this,
Okay.
right?
Wow. Yeah.
Isn't that pretty insane? Like, we
Yeah.
just changed it, and now it took this right here. And obviously, like, this gradient in the background looks pretty hard. But actually, you know what? Check out this. So for those of you who are creative and want to create like a really good landing page, and if you're a content creator or, you're selling your services, like, creating a good landing page is so important. Not enough people talk about it. What you could do here is check this out. So if we go to ChatGPT and we go to their new 4.0 model, we could actually upload that same screenshot. And I want to say, I'm going to go like this. Please generate an image that, generate the image that was used in the background of this site. Don't generate any of the components in the foreground, just the background image, because I'm going to put it on my site as the background. And so it's just like the background gradient. I want you to generate it as you see it there, 16 by 9. And so this is, again, so I decided that I want this background image. And since I have this, I'm aware of a bunch of different tools that I can go to at any time to get an image that would satisfy this workflow. And not enough people know about these workflows, but you can do this. And it might take a few times, but we'll see what ChatGPT cooks up here.
I think one thing I want to highlight for people is actually, and I think it's why it's really useful that we even have this, like the remote setup and you're showing your screen. It's the way that you build something really fast, and then you find something that you want to be improved. You like highlight it, you give it back to the AI to improve the thing, and then you input the new improved thing. Like, it's actually it takes a bit of like getting your head around it. Like, it's a different way of working.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it comes down to just everything is lower cost, right? This costs us no time and like a few cents in AI costs. So we can iterate a lot faster. We don't need to plan. We are building it in real time. Like we're building an app in real time and it's going to look really good. Like, wait, like check this out. So what V0 is really cool. So look at this. It took this image right here. You see the background of this
Yeah.
image? It generated this image from that. We just said generate only what's behind it. And look at this. Now we can download this and check this out. We can go back to V0 and we can just upload this image here to
Man,
V0 and
that's so
say,
cool.
instead of having the background gradient that you have now, please just use the image that I uploaded here as the background image. I want you to use that image as the background of this app, change nothing else. That's another hack, by the way. I found that no matter what AI tool that I'm using, I always say change nothing else. So I'm as specific as I can be about what I want. And then I say, do nothing else. One, AI is getting really good at design, and that comes with a trade-off. Because sometimes you'll ask for a feature and it will go off and like create additional designs and it will start veering off from the thing that you want. So you want to be hyper specific about what you want changed and then just say change nothing else. At least that's my strategy and it's been very effective.
Yeah.
But this is about to cook. Wait, where is it? Look at that.
Yeah.
And so we can see this full screen. I mean, come on. Like we
Yeah.
just literally fully replicated their landing page in just a couple of prompts, moving from page to page. And it would probably take us like 20 minutes. We could get this working to like not to generate a script in the form of Patty Galloway, and we could format it properly because we created the AI features right here on this mobile app, right? It doesn't look quite as good because we haven't focused on the design here, but like you could get these AI features. We did the AI features for this in one prompt. And if and so this app, the value of this app is how well you can test it over and over again. Basically, put yourself in the user's shoes. Like the user um, is now coming up with a video, and like you want to make sure that the output has the highest percentage of being good. And then that's a good app right there. Is you have a good interface, and then it solves a problem at a high enough percentage, and you just make it better and better, and you just repeat on a specific problem. And then if you're making content about how to get better on YouTube, you're like a perfect creator to sell this product, and it would provide a ton of value for people.
Yeah. You know,
Yeah.
what, just so because we went like in a lot of different places, and I want to make sure that people can follow through step by step. And so I'll just do like a little summary of what we did, and then we can go a bit deeper. Which is step one, we just started with like what was a problem, right? And we used like the diagram that you're showing on the screen right now. And the problem was basically, people don't have the experience of how to grow on YouTube. And so we took the preeminent, like the biggest like growth strategist we got, and we thought to ourselves, what if we could actually kind of take his learnings, his experience, his personality, make it into like an AI YouTube growth coach. So that was step one. We just identified a pain point and then thought of a solution. Step two was we used a combination of ChatGPT, Vibe Code, which is your app, V0, and we actually built like a V1. In how long would you say that was, Riley? Like 30 minutes?
I mean, I would say we created a like we created the core flow of the app. We didn't do any prompt engineering, right? We just created the core AI features in a mobile app. And then we created a web interface for the app with we stole the lovable design, basically. And I'm not saying you should steal someone else's brand. I'm just showing you that you can. And you can basically just screenshot inspirations and upload it to V0. And so, yeah, I guess, yeah. So what we did is we created prototypes, right? We created prototypes of, and I think right here, let's give some examples. So I'm just going to make this kind of a lighter shade. So we created a mobile app. We created a like mobile app mockup. We created a web interface mockup. and I will say that this is a mock-up, right? Like we didn't create a full mobile app. It's not on the App Store, but we created a mock-up. And this is a lot higher fidelity. If you ever wanted to go to a developer and get something creative, it's way better to go to them with a prototype than it is to go with like a Google Doc, right? It's a lot easier to translate your thoughts into something. And so that's why I think mock-ups can be so powerful. Yeah, and then for this, like we use V0. And by the way, you can use a lot of other tools for this. I don't think you should hyper focus on the tools because you just want to focus on the types of tools. Like we used ChatGPT. You could also use Claude, right? For this, for the mobile app, we use Vibecode. And remember, I am biased, right? This is my tool. But yeah, I mean, we're just kind of, I think that yes, you should have some sort of process, but you should also just experiment. Like just have some fun. Just
Yeah.
know that there's literally there's no reason that you should not do this and just have fun. Like block out 4 hours and try and create the best app that you want and ignore the problem, because the better you get, I've often found that you become aware of problems on the way of tinkering, right? As you're tinkering with random things, problems become aware. Too many people want to have the full path revealed to them before they get started. When really you should just start tinkering, playing around, like have fun. This technology is brand new and people are looking from the playbook. I don't have a playbook for you. Like I would consider myself one of the best experts. I don't follow a playbook ever. I just test things out, try it. And that's why, sorry if I'm getting like super passionate about this, but like I think that this generation and like this whole movement of AI and vibe coding, there's something about the word vibe that it's very free form. You don't need to follow the rules because you have all of the knowledge from human history in an AI model. You can ask it any question and you can just apply it. You don't necessarily, you need to be disciplined and you need to want to finish the thing that you're working on and you need to problem solve. But I don't think people need to adhere to like a rigorous structure, if that makes sense. And I've noticed the most successful people out there, one of them being this guy named Levels.io, who's making around 300K a month, building a bunch of random apps for his community on Twitter. He has no structure. I talked to him. He wakes up in the morning and he talks to his users and he's just like, whatever they say that he needs to work on, he'll like fix. And like he just tinkers sometimes for like a month. And then he ended up building this flight simulator game, vibe coded a flight simulator game, and it made 50K. And so if you're looking on the internet for people who are like overstructured, I would just avoid that. I would just start playing around and I think the path will reveal itself. Sorry for the monologue, but I'm very passionate about this.
Yeah, no, it's good. And so, okay, so you watch this video, you start playing around with these different tools, and you start to get an idea of like, okay, I think I've got something that is of value. At what point, because this is just us playing around, like obviously we're in a studio, we're gonna like thousands of people are gonna watch this, but we're just having fun right now. At what point are you actually going live? Like at what point are you starting to get people's feedback?
Ask AI. I'm serious. Like, first of all, make it work for your own use case. In this video, we used, and you can use many apps for this, to create the general AI feature. But if we actually wanted to create a YouTube scripting tool, first of all, make it work. Like, try to put yourself in the shoes of anyone who would buy it and be like, okay, does this product actually solve my problem? And you need to evaluate that. And then I would spend a week refining the prompting behind the app. And you can ask AI in whatever vibe coding tool. You could be like, change the app so that the output is a little bit more concise and also allow me to upload documents of my previous writing so it sounds like me. And then you can do that. And then refine it until it solves your problem. Like, there's no formula other than the fact, like, does this solve my own problem? Would it solve others' problems? Great, now it's time to go live. Okay, ChatGPT, I've done all of these different things. I've done this, I've created the app, it works. I want to go live and make money. What are the steps that I need to do to get there? It'll list them out for you. And obviously, once you've done it a couple times, because the first time you might fail, right? The idea, and if you're going to fail, do it fast. And that's the way that I see it. And you can just ask AI. You don't need to wait for a creator to tell you anything. And so I think that's that's one thing that I think is a big shift into this AI era. Is AI is going to it's just a permissionless world. You can just do things.
Mm. I really like that point of like you actually spend a week, like block out a week after you've built it and just put yourself in the shoes of the user and just be like, okay, does this actually solve the pain point that I'm having? And just going back and forth. And it's what we said before about the conversation. Just like
Yes.
going back and forth and adding these aspects in that make the experience just a little bit better, 1% better. And just
Yeah.
a week of doing that, you'll have something that is useful to people.
And one thing that's super useful um, is before you go live, you can deploy these apps to the internet incredibly easy. Actually, let me share one. I think this would be super useful. Um, you can share these apps to the internet and then send them to a friend that you trust, and they can test the tool without paying you. Because what you're trying to do is you're trying to get feedback from someone who is willing to be honest with you. You don't want to send it to your mom because your mom's going to be like, "I love you so much. It's amazing." And you want someone who will be like, "Dude, this sucks. Like you can make it better." Um, and what all you have to do here is like we could deploy this into the internet right now. We could literally hit this deploy button. Check this out, deploy to production. I'm like, okay, so I did this 10 seconds ago. I hit deploy to the internet. And so if we click on this link that it gave us right here, um, it's building and you can click view build. And so if there's any problems, right, with the code, you might run into some problems. And I don't want to dive into like debugging your project right now. I've made videos about this before, but it'll tell you what the problem is. But this is likely going to be on the internet in the next 15 seconds. And what you could do is you can send your friends this link and you could be like, hey, because if you're a content creator, all right, it's done. It's on the internet. So you could go to this link right now. This is not in V0 anymore. This is on the internet. Like this app right here. We made
That is
this.
crazy.
And so
That is crazy.
obviously we didn't add the AI features to V0 because you need to upload your own API key, but we created a mobile app and I could literally ask AI to make the mobile app look like this design right here. And I think with 1 or 2 days of work, I could create this app, web app and mobile app and have it on the App Store. And I've never written a line of code. I have a lot of experience vibe coding. That's all I do every day. So I will say I'm like pseudo technical, but like if you put 3 intense months into this, you could be at this point. And then, I mean, I know a lot of like, you are a dangerous person in the economy, right? You can help people prototype. You can just help companies move a lot faster. There's a lot of different things that you can do. And yeah, and so we created this. This is on the internet. And so yeah, get feedback from your friends immediately. That's what I would say before launching fully public.
Yeah. Okay, you know what? Before we close out, um, let's say that I've launched like what we've just done. I've launched it on it's now on the internet. It's ready to go. A number of my friends, maybe like a small focus group of friends, some of my colleagues from work, some people that I'm just friends with on the internet, they've all kind of used the product and they're like, this is actually great. So we've gotten to the point that we have like a V1 or maybe even like a V2. Like we have a version which is a little bit of feedback from people and we've improved it. How do you actually scale this to the point that you actually have something that's like similar to what the levels you mentioned, the guy that does levels where he's making like $300,000 a month. Like how do you get to that point where it's generating that sort of revenue? Like what are the missing pieces there?
So here's the thing. If you already have an audience and you're able to sell something, and so first of all, before we even get to that point, like we need to add payments. And that is a little bit tougher to like integrate Stripe integration. It's not, but you could hire some after you have your full prototype, you could hire someone to add in payment integration for you for not that much, maybe 200, 250 bucks. I think it would take a good developer an hour or two to do it. And so like I do think having some money um, is is good to start because you want to basically come up with the idea, you want to make sure that it works, and then you want to make sure that it's secure. I don't think we're at the point where people um, sh- can vibe code something and be fully confident that there's going to be no bugs or security issues with the app. And so I think it's worth paying someone to do that. But if you paid someone to create the entire app in its entirety, you're looking at a $10,000 bill, or like 5,000 from an agency. And so I think it's incredibly powerful to be able to create this and then just have someone add those few things that you need. Do a security check, payments. Once you have that, you can launch it on the internet. And let's say you're a content creator. A lot of people who follow me and likely follow you make content. And maybe you have some sort of distribution advantage. And now all of a sudden you have like 150, 200 users that are paying you $30 a month for this product. You now have money to invest. And so if you've honed the app to tailor to a specific problem, it makes sense for you to get someone to make sure that your app is scalable, to make sure that you're not going to get charged a ton for your database, because you don't know what you don't know. But I think the fastest way to learn is just to get started. And so basically, you could invest some of the money that you've made into getting someone to help you scale it, and then use that to make more and more money. And so I think the people who have a distribution advantage, who can get users on their app for free, like we're about to see the golden period of the content creator mixed with vibe coding, because the cost of developing software is going to tank, and the types of cool software you can create is going to go through the roof. We haven't even really gotten into real-time voice, right? Like, have you ever used the real-time voice on ChatGPT where it like talks back to you immediately?
Yeah, I have.
You could
Yeah.
create an app as Paddy Galloway, except it would sound like him and it would respond immediately. I've created apps that have real-time voice. It's not fully it's not super easy yet, but that's one thing that we're going to do is we're going to make it easy for anyone to create real-time voice apps. And so the possibilities are endless. So I would say, yeah, try and solve very specific problems and build an audience, and then be willing to invest the money you make early on to make sure that it's scalable. And these are all things that you can learn as you're doing it, if that
Yeah.
makes sense.
You know what? Here's where I want to end. And for people that are listening, because I can already hear it, the point of like, oh, but you need an audience. We actually have the episode that we did with Greg Eisenberg, also the one that we filmed with Callaway, explains how you can do content and like what you can do daily to start building an audience that will buy from you. But Riley, here's where I want to end. Let's say someone's just watched this conversation. They've seen all of these different tools and things that you've explained and all of these features, and they're excited, right? Like we spoke about that person who's like, they're the ideas person. And even if they're working their 9 to 5 right now, and we're heading towards the weekend and they're seeing this video, what would you recommend that this person does? If they just had to take one thing from the conversation we've just had, what would you recommend that this person does on their Saturday afternoon? They have it completely free so that they can start and there's something like tangible, like the right next step after watching this conversation.
You know what? I got it. What you're going to do is you're going to decide what you want to tinker with, and I want you to let any desire of making money immediately evaporate from your soul. You don't need to do that. What you need to do is you need to develop a skill. And so what you're going to do is you're going to open up one of these tools. I don't care which one it is. And you're going to try and make an app. And through this process, you're going to go to Descript, Tela, OBS, or any of these other video screen share tools. And you're going to record yourself building these tools, and you're going to make content around it, from a place not of authority, but like, today I'm actually going to try and build something, and I want you to screen record it and show what you built at the end of the day. And you're going to be like, today I spent 3 hours building and I made this. And you're going to post it on Twitter. Twitter, I think, is the absolute best start if you want to like get into something. It has a way of like communities emerging around you. And if you would create one video of people who like see you on the internet, and you could post it on LinkedIn, you could post it on Facebook, whatever, of just the act of doing it, you're going to see so many people who are also trying to build things on their Saturday, and you're going to see a community emerge. And you're just going to like network, talk to people, see what other people are building. And then just maybe every Saturday or Sunday, and if you're in college or something, like do it every day and just that's what I did. When I was a big content creator on Instagram and TikTok. But when I transitioned to Twitter, I was making vibe code content way before I was an expert. I was making vibe code content as someone who'd never done it before. I was like completely lost. And I was making content on the internet, and that's why people liked it. And I think that we're in an era where it's so easy to pretend to be an expert, but it's really hard to like authentically try and pursue something on the internet and be like, I want to do this. I don't have relevant experience, but this guy Riley with big ears, he said I could do it. And say it. I'll give you a retweet and post it on Twitter and see what happens. And then whatever happens, some information will be produced, right? Someone will respond in a certain way. Maybe someone will reach out to you. Maybe someone will want the product that you create, and then just go from there. Create something else the next Saturday. And that's honestly how I would approach it.
I actually love that challenge of someone watching this video, doing what we just did, documenting the whole thing, posting it on Twitter, tagging you and I as well.
If you tag both of us, the first 50 people who tag both of us on Twitter, I will retweet on my Twitter. I have like 70,000 followers. You'll get a ton of views. If you create something useful, I'll put it out there straight up. First 50, I will do that. That would inspire me a ton. So I think that's great.
And we'll put both our handles in the description.
Easily.
Riley, you've been amazing, man. Thank you so much.
Okay, so if you enjoyed this episode, you're going to absolutely love what we did with this one right here. Click here.